Bonjour, bienvenue sur Catch 22 Rugby. Je m'appelle Benny et voici, and that's as far as my French can take me. Putting my bad linguistic skills aside, French rugby is without a doubt one of the most exciting commodities in the world of rugby, and the top 14 is where the majority of the French ply their trade. Loaded with clubs with rich histories and even richer pockets, the likes of Toulon, Toulouse, Claremont, Racing, Leoni and Bordeaux all call the top 14 home. Even though the national French team has underperformed over the past decade or so, the club level in France has always been home to top contenders. Evident by their performances in Europe, in the past 10 years, 5 of the Heineken Cups have been won by top 14 sides, and there's been at least one French side in every final during that time. It was only a matter of time before a country with such talents rebounded. As the French national team entered a renaissance since the start of the early 2010s, a lot of their success can be attributed to the value of their homegrown league. Money doesn't seem to be too much of a problem in France either. The teams have flexed their financial muscles over the years, bringing some of the best into France. In fact, if you could put together a list of the top 50 players since the turn of the millennium, there's a high likelihood that the majority of them have played in the top 14 at some point. Which brings us to now. There's no surprise the top 14 has once again seen some truly exceptional players make moves within and into the league. I'm Benny from Catch 22 Rugby, and in no particular order, here are 15 huge transfers in the top 14. Number 1, Teritomar to La Rochelle. We kick off our list with one of the biggest stars in French rugby. Born in Biarritz in 1993, the 29-year-old winger catapulted himself onto the world stage back in 2014 when he was called up for the French national squad, scoring his first international try on his first international appearance in the first minute of the game. Since then, Tomar has gone to represent his country 28 times, scoring 15 tries in the process. At club level, Teddy has also impressed. Starting out with Biarritz before swapping the Basque Country for the French capital, Teddy joined Racing 92 in 2014. Over an 8-year period, the 6'1" winger ran out for Racing 111 times, scoring 315 points in the Parisian blue and white. He joins the Kings of Europe this summer, the Heineken Champions Cup winners, La Rochelle. Number 2, Wilkie to Racing 92. One of France's most established stars to one of his most exciting prospects. Cameron burst onto the international scene at the age of 21 when he was called up to the French squad back in 2020. A regular face in Fabien Gaulthier's side ever since, he's clocked over 16 French caps in the past few years. The 23-year-old Parisian stands at 6'5" and is familiar in playing both the second and back rows in the pack. In the top 14, Wilkie made his league debut for Bordeaux as a teenager, and since 2017 he's run out for the Bordelais side 96 times, scoring 19 tries. As Cameron continues to cement his place in the French pack for the foreseeable future, he secured a move back home this summer, joining Parisian powerhouses Racing 92. Number 3, Carbonel to Montpellier. On the subject of exciting prospects, we have to talk about the French fly half Carbonel. The 23-year-old has spent the entirety of his pro career with superstars Toulon. Often a side that's embodied a Galacticos approach when their playing squad is put together, Toulon has seen legends of the game play for them. People like Johnny Wilkinson, Brian Habana, Nonu, Gitsu, Bakis Botha, we could go on. So it was rather refreshing to see the side settle with a local product in recent years, back in local Toulon 10 Carbonel. At a young age, Carbonel has already reached 97 appearances on the Mediterranean coast and clocked 667 points during that time. With 5 French caps to his name, Carbonel enters an interesting new phase in his career, battling world-class 10s. Firstly, on the French national team against the incredibly gifted Romain Ntamak, and for his new side Montpellier, who host the equally gifted Pablo Garbisi. Carbonel will have to battle on 2 fronts this season to secure a starting jersey for both club and country. Like what you're watching so far? Why don't you give this video a like, and if you want to see more, give Catch 22 a subscribe. Every positive click you give our channel helps us grow so we can continue making more videos like this. So go on, do us a favor and help us out by clicking this video. Number 4, Parra to Stade Francais. What can we say about Le Petit General? One of the most beloved scrum halves in French rugby, Parra has captured the hearts and minds of the French following a decade of quality rugby. Making a start with Bourgogne way back in 2006, Parra moved on to Claremont in 2009, where he spent 13 years of Legionnaire. 300 appearances, over 2,000 points, 2 top 14 titles, and a European Challenge Cup title. It's an incredible list to have on your rugby CV. On the international stage, Morgan has ran out over 70 times for France and even collected a Grand Slam back in 2010. At the age of 33, Parra swapped his beloved Yellow Army for the Pink Army of Paris as he swapped clubs to Stade Francais. Number 5, Regan Grace to Racing 92. This one came as a shock to many. It's not uncommon for rugby league superstars to make a move to Union, but with all the hype in his homeland of Wales, many weren't anticipating a move to France. Regan first found rugby in his hometown of Port Talbot and eventually made the Ospreys Academy as a youngster. But just like Sam Costello and Tommy Reffel before him, Grace slipped through the net at Australia as the lure of England came calling. But unlike Costello and Reffel, he opted for league over Union. While crossing codes, the 25-year-old has certainly turned heads while at St Helens. He scored 88 tries in 141 runouts and collected 3 Super League winners' medals at St Helens as St Helens went back to back to back in 2019. While potentially eyeing up a call for the Wales squad back in Rugby Union, there was talk of the Welsh regions making a few bids for Regan's services, but the deep pockets of Racing 92 had the final say, swooping in for the Welsh winger this summer. While many are excited to see Grace carve it up in Union, fans will have to wait a little longer as Regan sadly ruptured his Achilles while playing in St Helens this summer. With a lengthy recovery process underway, it prompted Racing to make another shock move for an XL winger looking to make a return to Rugby Union. Number 6. Christian Way to Racing 92. Well, if you can't start Regan Grace, having the Gallagher Premiership's 4th all-time try scorer is a pretty optimal backup. Christian Way's long-anticipated return to Union had kept many glued to social media for announcements. It was a question of when, not if, Wade would return after 3 years over in the NFL. A few teasers on his social media joked about London, but those were quickly quashed when Wade received a +33 phone call on his phone. In rugby, Christian broke through at Wasps in 2011, crafting out a stellar career in the Gallagher Prem. As someone who could run the 100 metres in less than 11 seconds, Wade put his quick feet to work, scoring 82 tries in 7 years. The hype was huge, and arguably it peaked in 2013 when Wade earned his first call-up to England, and even got a call-up to the 2013 Lions squad who toured Australia. While it didn't quite work out internationally for him, he did continue to impress for Wasps, building up a reputation for his blistering pace and phenomenal finishing. But rugby couldn't quite hold on to him. Christian left Wasps in 2018 to pursue a career in the NFL. It looked like a good move to start as he made the Buffalo Bills roster and scored a 35-yard touchdown in his pre-season debut. But 3 seasons later, he's found himself languishing in the reserve squad in Buffalo without a single NFL appearance to his name. At 31, Wade still has a good few seasons left in his legs, and at Racing, he has the right platform to surge a rugby comeback. Number 7. Maxime Machinot to Bayonne. Heading down to the Basque Country on France's border with Spain, Bayonne made their presence felt in the transfer market by picking up the French scrum half Maxime Machinot. Pushing 34, Maxime's experience is plentiful, playing for the likes of Bordeaux, Agen and Racing 92, the latter with whom he's played over 200 times for and collected 1,083 points. He also has a top 14 title to his name after pushing Racing 92 to the title back in 2016, even if he did get a red card in the final against Toulon. On the international stage, Machinot has had a decent run with France, collecting 38 caps over a 10-year period, but hasn't made much of an impact since the arrival of Antoine Dupont. But in fairness, when the World Player of the Year is in your position, it's always going to be a tough job finding a starting spot. Maxime will surely get all the game time he needs playing for Bayonne. Number 8. Ange Capuzzo to Toulouse. Describing the Italian fullback as a live wire is quite the understatement, and Toulouse have found themselves a quality star prospect. The French-born Italian Capuzzo grew up in the Alps but qualified through Italy through his father. Despite only playing 2 games for Italy at the time, Ange forced himself into the conversation of many people during his performances in the 2022 Six Nations. In his debut, he came off the bench against Scotland, scoring twice, but it was against Wales he really turned heads. He capped off a stunning performance by making one of the best breaks of the tournament, beating several defenders to set up the winning try for Italy, the Azzurri ending their 36-match losing streak in the process. Despite Wales's Josh Adams winning the Man of the Match award, Adams actually handed his Man of the Match medal to Capuzzo post-match, recognising the skill and flair the Italian had shown that day in Cardiff. Up until that tournament, Capuzzo had been playing second-tier club rugby, making 52 appearances for the D2 side Grenoble. But with his display in the Six Nations, top-flight rugby was only a matter of time, and the ones to secure his signature were the 2021 European champions Toulouse. Joining a star-studded side including Antoine Dupont and Romain Ntamak, Ange may have to bide his time with the starting 15 jersey there, competing against the likes of Toulouse fullbacks Thomas Ramos, Juan Cruz Malia, and their other high-profile signing this summer. Number 8. Melvin Haminated to Toulouse. Arriving from the blood and goals of Perpignan, Haminated joins Ange Capuzzo as the newest arrival in the southern French city. Haminated has catapulted himself up the depth charts in France, and at the age of 23, He's become the preferred starting 15 for the French coaches. Starting every single game of the 2022 Six Nations, he guided France through 5 successful rounds as the side's preferred kicker on goal, performances that earned France their first Grand Slam title since 2010. A player who most importantly guided my fantasy rugby team to victory in the spring, the applause for Melvin's skills continues to grow louder, especially from me as my friends didn't have the foresight to select Haminated as their kicker for the Six Nations Fantasy League. Merci beaucoup, Melvin. Number 10, George Bridge to Montpellier. Montpellier's back division may have taken a knock in the summer with the departure of Andre Pollard to Leicester Tigers, but they've managed to boost their backs with Louis Carbonel and New Zealand All Black George Bridge. A South Island product, Bridge came up through the ranks at Canterbury, making his Mitre 10 debut in 2016. Following a short successful spell, George was elevated up to the Crusaders, where he continued impressing on the professional stage. All in all, the 27-year-old has spent the entire length of his career in Christchurch, scoring 105 points in the Mitre 10 and 175 points for the Crusaders. With 12 international tries under his belt since debuting, George also made the squad for the 2019 World Cup, when New Zealand lost out to the semis despite beating eventual champions South Africa in a rather convincing fashion in the group stages. It seems George is calling time on his international aspirations with a move to the reigning top 14 champions, Montpellier. Number 11, Leoni Nakawara to Castro. If you're looking for a human highlights reel who also plays in the pack, your go-to player has to be Nakawara. The 6'6" Fijian is a true modern icon of rugby, with some even labelling him one of the best locks to ever play the game during his peak. A rare combination of physicality and flair, Leoni's offloading and open play work is the type of stuff that YouTuber Andrew Ford could make at least, 20 videos about. No pressure, Andrew. Nakawara's first professional contract came in Scotland, with the Glasgow Warriors, who were competing in the now URC. Within 2 seasons, Glasgow had won their first league title, with Nakawara himself scooping up the Man of the Match award in the final. A switch to the top 14 in 2016 saw Leoni join Racing 92. I've mentioned them a lot, haven't I? What started out as promise in Paris ended in misfortune. Despite making the top 14's team of the season in his first year, he was eventually let go by Racing. The reason? He failed to return back to his club following Fiji's exit in the 2019 World Cup. It all gets a bit cluttered from here. Nakawara returned to Glasgow, then pushed through a move to the Irish Giants Ulster, but that move ultimately fell through when he failed his medical at the club. In the past year, he spent time with Toulon, but after 1 season, he's found himself a new home with Castro. Number 12, Warwick Gallant to Racing 92. Racing 92 again? These guys are everywhere. Despite having one of the greatest squads in the league, if there's one place Racing are a little light, it's at fullback. While they have Argentina's won him off, the Parisians have dipped back into the market yet again to pick up a very solid acquisition. South Africa's Gallant is a brilliant piece of recruitment in our view. A World Cup winner with the Springboks, Warwick has been tearing things up in the URC, most recently winning the inaugural title with the Stormers and making the URC's team of the season at fullback. The 27-year-old from the Western Cape has held great rugby tenures with the Stormers and prior to that the Bulls, and he leaves his home country to pursue a career in Europe, joining fellow South African Trevor Nkanye at the La Défense Arena. Number 13, Untitled to La Rochelle. Here's a pretty interesting fact: the Irish international is actually returning home, technically. Born in France, Delan moved to Ireland as a kid, growing up in his mother's hometown on the Irish west coast. The 6'6" second row has predominantly made his mark in green, provincially for Connacht and nationally for Ireland. In Galway, Delan made 126 appearances for Connacht and even won the 2016 title of what is now the URC. Rumour has it as a youngster, Oldtown was slightly reluctant to start playing rugby, but thanks to a €5 incentive from his mother, he started playing for his local side. Number 14, Anthony Below to Claremont. Another fly half on the move this year is the 26-year-old Anthony Below. Departing Toulon after 8 years, Below has racked up some impressive stats while playing in the south of France. A Toulon Centurion, his points tally nearly broke the 700 mark during his time there, which pushed him towards a French call-up in 2017. At the international level, Anthony has slipped down the pecking charts, particularly with Romain Ntamack's performance so well in the 10 jersey for Les Bleus, but going to Claremont could be the spark Below needs to boost back up on the international scene. If the Yellow Army can get behind him and push him towards, say, a top 14 title, it might be too hard for the French coaches to ignore Below for much longer. Number 15, Camille Lopez de Bayonne. As Below arrives in Claremont, their captain Lopez leaves for Bayonne. The fly half from the Pyrenees has enjoyed spells with Montpellier, Bordeaux and Perpignan, but it was in Claremont that he enjoyed his best years. Tallying nearly 1,000 points for the club since his 2014 debut, Lopez went on to play 28 times for France, where he took over from a struggling Tronduc back in 2013. He links up at Bayern with his old French teammate Maxime Machinot, and even though the pair are both well into their 30s, it's a very talented 9 partnership that could prop Bayern well up the league. And that's it, 15 huge transfers from the top 14. With the massive playing budgets over in France, there were so many players that made moves this summer, and sticking to 15 was incredibly difficult. We could have had the likes of Bastareaud, Jules Plisson, Marcel van der Merwe, and Zach Holmes, who all were movers in the market. But with so much talent swapping, we have to draw the line somewhere, so hopefully you can understand if your favourite wasn't included. If you'd like to see more Catch 22 Rugby videos moving forward, please give this video a quick like and subscribe to our channel. I've been Benny from Catch 22 Rugby, and we'll see you in the next one.